Hello, everyone. Welcome to our financial webinar hosted by Zoe Financial. Today's topic is Women in Transition, Marriage, Divorce, and Loss. Our special speaker today is Chahati Lancaster from United Capital Advisors. Before we start, a quick disclaimer. Zoe Financial Inc. is an investment advisor registered with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training. This presentation is not to be taken as investment advice and should not be relied on for such advice or as a substitute for consultation with professional accounting, tax, legal, or financial advisors. The observations made are independent of Zoe Financial and should not be read as financial recommendations. Today, our host today is Andres Garcia Maya. He is the founder and CEO of Zoe Financial. Previously, he was an executive director at JP Morgan Asset Management, where he led emerging markets and research and strategy. He began his career at Morgan Stanley and is frequently featured in major financial media as a thought leader on investing and innovation. Andres holds an MBA from the Wharton School, a BS in finance from Villanova University, and is a CFA chart holder. Before we begin, we'd like to discuss a little bit and tell those folks that don't know about Zoe Financial what it is that we do here. So our mission is to help grow and protect our clients' wealth. We are an advisor matching service for individuals and families seeking financial guidance. Zoe matches each client with an independent fiduciary advisor from our carefully curated network. Every advisor is vetted and aligned to each client's personalized needs. Our speaker today, as we mentioned, is Chahati Lancaster, wealth manager at United Capital Financial Advisors based in San Diego. She specializes in helping women navigate major life transitions with clear, personalized financial planning. Chahati has been in financial planning since 2017 and joined United Capital in 2020. Chahati holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Occidental College and an MBA from Hawaii Pacific University. For today's points, we'll be going through understanding life transitions, where many women feel lost, what you can do now, real client stories, do it your own information versus personal planning, which will include AI, and final takeaways plus Q&A.
So, all right, number one, understanding life transitions. What transitions are we talking about? We're talking about marriage, divorce, and loss. Now, people have their independence and their systems. And in Hawaii, we really think about past, present, and future, right? How did I grow up? How did that influence my today? And what is the legacy I want to live? What are the goals for the future? And all of these transitions definitely usher in change, right? And so that brings emotional and some expected and unexpected financial decisions. Next slide. So starting with marriage. So let's address the feelings. When, marriage, it brings up feelings of overwhelm, losing independence, anxiety, perhaps, this, I need to do it right. So here's some things just to keep in mind. I know I was talking to someone and it's like, when you're in that happiness and joy and exuberance of marriage, the last thing you think about is, hey, let's talk about our finances and how can we really do that. So let's just bring that to the forefront, that is something that is important. And as you'll see, if we don't make the preparation by updating our beneficiaries and account access, reviewing estate plans, with marriage usually comes family planning, then it can have unattended consequences. I know it seems like a taboo thing, but then it's all about preparation, right? It's a relationship. It's the biggest business contract you're going to enter into. And finances, it's like oxygen. You don't know you need it until you need the air, you need the money to get on with your life. Next slide. All right. So what does United Capital offer our clients that's different from other registered investment advisors out there? Well, I'll tell you this. It's called the honest conversation. And what you're seeing on the screen is an example of our fictitious couple, Angelica and Stephen. So Angelica, definitely, you can see this exercise. It has 15 topics, but they've individually selected 5 of their top. And you notice that not all in the same priority order or not even exactly the same things, but there are some overlaps. So we talk about, which is very important. And trust me, I've dealt with a lot of households, and some people don't have this very important conversation. So in this exercise, maybe we can avoid the divorce, right? Maybe there's clarity, there's more confidence and control. And this honest conversation, as you read the different topics here, you can see the overlap. We think of what is the household's top 5 priorities. And it's so important because nobody wants to see a family break apart and marriage dissolve. So this honest conversation is unique and hallmark to United Capital that I work to. And it's just very helpful to address those feelings and paired with the practical things that we shared. Next slide. All right. So again, now you may be thinking, Chahati, what do you know about divorce? What do you know about the next topic after divorce? Well, I'll tell you this. I've worked with a lot of households, and it's very painful. And some of the feelings that come up are incompleteness, overwhelmed by grief. In the Hawaiian culture, we're driven by connections, by relationships, and that's a universal concept, right? Some people may feel shame, may feel instability, right? And so, we're here to help you pick up the pieces. As a certified financial planner, we look at the holistic plan, right? Yes, again, back to the other slide, we would love to do the preparation, but sometimes you know how it goes. You know what I mean? When you're in the midst of a fight and you hear that big D word, it's like the nuclear bomb, divorce, right? So what do we do? Well, hey, if we haven't already, start gathering your financial, documents. Make sure you have clarity. Please seek out our help. We can help you keep organized. When the divorce is finalized, then it's time to untangle and separate. And it feels cold and business-like, but it is what it is for each party to move on with their life. And then next, it's, am I going to be okay? I've just lost half of my household income. What does that mean for me? How long do I have to work? How much do I have to spend? Realistically, we help you work with that. And so again, if you're concerned about financial control, seek support. We definitely encourage that. Next slide. All right. And so here it is, the unfathomable, a lot of emotions here when we do lose a spouse, and it's facts of life. And, it might be not only a spouse, it might be even a child, especially for us women who, unique to us, a child was very much part of your life, right? And emotions there with losing a spouse, a connection, it's felt at the cellular level, and not just the last thing anyone's thinking is the financial impact, but these impacts are real, everyone. And so again, sit with the emotions. You're going to have a lot of people. You're going to hear me talk about the story of my mom and some other clients, but especially my mom. That's personal. I remember when my father passed away, he was the gatekeeper, and all of a sudden they just knew she's distracted, she's emotional, she can, be generous and give. And folks might, take advantage of that. And so it's nice to have like a team such as myself, help guide, give clarity during this time of just immense grief and just loss and sudden, responsibility in finances and loneliness and fear again of making mistakes, right? So, some of the practical things is, yeah, there's some tax benefits, but that's the last thing in someone's mind, a stepped up cost basis, or who after this, where does the funds go? It's a lot of feelings. You're dealing with your own mortality. You've lost the love of your life. You've lost the person who helped regulate you, right? So life goes on, and just like that business entity, you have to update titles and beneficiaries, and estate documents and so forth, because, once you pass away, where does that all go? And then at the end of the day, am I okay? Am I going to, survive financially? So again, we're going to address where a woman may feel lost. Next slide. All right. So again, you heard me talk about the emotions and the overwhelm. Let's label it, right? You're gonna feel it. We don't wish that on anybody, but then these major transitions, even the exuberance of marriage to, 180 degrees, that a loss of a loved one, right? You may feel paralyzed with all these decisions, and you may freeze. And then, some folks may think, okay, this is my permission to help so and so make a decision. And that's why it's just so helpful, again, to gain that clarity, work with a professional, whether you did the preparation or it's more of a reaction, no problem, like a GPS. We're going to course correct and get you where you are. A lot of people also don't know what they don't know. And so it's, again, helpful to work with a professional so that they can bring to your attention some of the things so that we can eliminate or reduce the mistakes. And again, working with a certified financial planner is very, very important, okay? Because we've been trained and we have gone through the experience of helping clients who are in these major transitions. And we think of the whole picture, not just the investments and the growth, but then what is the plan? What, for retirement, for Social Security, Medicare, all these different things, they all make a big difference. Next slide. All right. So women, I'm speaking to you. No offense, men. We relate. We all have cycles. I just found out today that women, yes, we have our monthly cycle and a lifetime cycle, right? And childbirth and everything. But men, you're not excluded. You have a cycle as well. And that's apparently, I just learned today that your energy levels is very high in the morning. So I don't know, Andreas, if that's true. You can tell us at the end if that's the case. But for women, our energy levels wane and wave, right? And so with that and other different factors that we may, don't have time here to discuss, but women will outlast men. Actuary tables, right? When you've applied to insurance, it's no wonder why men's premiums are higher. McKinsey study says that in 2030, women will be controlling two-thirds of the wealth, believe it or not. I do see it. We're in 2025, and a lot of the households that I serve, they're widows or they're divorced or they're independent. And so, or they're taking more of a leadership role in the household when it comes to finances. So it's so important to just have that trusted person that you can rely on to really have your best interests in mind and check in with you to make sure, are we trending in the right direction? Are we keeping up with inflation? Are we within the guardrails, the safe withdrawal from our investment portfolio? Okay, so everyone's situation is different. And this is where we play with the different scenarios and assumptions that's very tailored to your specific situation. Next slide. All right, so what can you do now? We want to be practical. All right, so here's a quick checklist. It may be simple, but you'd be surprised. Not many people are organized, right? So collect those statements under your name, your loved one's name, and maybe it's time to incorporate a team of professionals that will help facilitate, arbitrate, mediate a conversation. So we do have the quantitative data, and we then pair it with the qualitative data of that honest conversation I mentioned. In the conversation, when working with a professional as myself, then we can get more clarity of what the household's priorities. Remember that past, present, future, right? So some things we saw from our parents and how they raised us, or if they talked about money or did not talk about money, that all made an impression and established the foundation for many of us here, right? And so it's just very important of addressing, hey, this is important to me. This, I understand, acknowledge that's important to you. And now you understand the why. Now let's get to the household and just having that relational conversation and not being stuck in the structural intelligence of the household unit can make a difference. And then again, I know I'm a broken record, but ask for help. From the many certified financial planners that are on the Zoe platform, please do not hesitate. And there's no shame. Everyone thinks they need to know it. The education system did not inform us of this. And I mean, thank you. Have a rewarding career as your financial doctor. But then I wish, eventually we can get to more financial literacy out there. Next slide. All right. So, when you talk to me, what does the first conversation look like? Well, we're going to answer three questions, and a lot of the folks that I have already talked to know this drill. And it's we're going to answer three questions: What do I have? What do I make? And what do I spend? And what do I make is we're going to build out that balance sheet. What in real estate? What investment accounts? Retirement, non-retirement, right? And then we're going to talk about what do I make? It's not just your W-2 income. It's probably pension. Social Security is a main one. We'll talk about the timing, right? And then finally, what do I spend? So I love this question because folks right now, it's like, okay, I really don't know, Chahati. Okay, I'm like, okay, well, let's think about this logically. How much income goes into your checking, right? Twice a month. And is that checking balance staying at the same, or is it more? Is it less? And then we talk about our fixed and variable. And within 5 minutes, then they're like, wow, clarity, Chahati. Now I know what I spend. And I'm like, and you'll be surprised in retirement, it stays the same. Or if not, increases because you have more leisure time. So those are things are to be mindful of. We talk about the time horizon, right? If we knew in hindsight how much time we had, right, we can plan with the end in mind and have a fantastic plan in a perfect world, right? But we live in the real world, and there's a lot of things that we can't control, right? And a lot of that is the life events and the transitions that we just mentioned. And again, it's very personal to you. So, with your questions and what other ideas, not to knock down the, personal search of AI or ChatGPT or asking a neighbor, but we just want to make sure that the next steps are appropriate to you. Next slide. All right. So here's again, we want to be practical, some simple items to start collecting. What are my account statements, debts, bills, benefits, insurance, especially if it's an employer, benefit or insurance, estate documents. If you have a trust, we'll go into is that home, especially those living in California and Hawaii and possibly New York, right? The coastal states. It's been very important. So there's these things that we don't think about, but they are important. And then, of course, bring your questions that you want answered. All right. So, during the planning, it's very dynamic. It's not static, right? So, once that we joke in the industry that once that plan is developed, it's almost obsolete, right? Things are changing. And it's great to work with a professional who's your sounding board all year long because assumptions does change, right? Someone might have a health issue. Someone might get into receive an inheritance. And so it's nice to check in periodically, especially like what is the state of the markets? Is this a true signal or is this noise? Any adjustments? And we work through all of that with you. All right. So my favorite part, so continuing the theme of financial, and wealth and and health, we want to make sure that you understand, next slide, that do it yourself, although great, I just want to paint out this picture for you. Neighbors, well-intentioned, they may say like, hey, I'm taking this for my sore knees. Maybe you should do that too. And that's parallel to, hey, I'm doing this, my account's doing great, and I've got all these insurances or whatever the case may be. And that might not be appropriate for your situation. And you might be creating more harm to that knee, to your financial situation. So just be aware you wouldn't take the same pills, right, that your neighbors just because they said it's working for them. So same as in when we plan for our finances, right? So again, DIY research is a great starting point, and we live in the great age of AI, and there's a boom going on, and time will tell how those resources will better serve us. But it's the human touch. Having a human financial doctor is still worth its weight in gold. Trust me. A lot of the folks that were doctoring and fixing up because they kind of went off the range and did their own thing. There's some things that I scratch my head, but again, we're humans, not robots or machines. Uh, it's great for developing some education and for just knowing like what are some possible solutions that you think might be, and run it by us, and we look at the whole picture and verify and validate that yes, that was a good idea or not. But again, it should reflect the prescription, the recommendations should fit your whole picture. So just be mindful of that and be wary of folks who are giving you well-intended advice or on your own research. All right. Okay. So story time. So this is my mom. We can go to the next slide. So my mom, in a sense, dealt with all three of the transitions that we're talking about. So my father and her had a pretty dramatic, difference in age. And my mom was an immigrant. She wasn't an American. And so, all of those factors, English being her second language. And my father passed away. And I alluded to earlier, when he passed away, a lot of people from the woodworks were like, okay, can I borrow this? Can you give me this? I have this. And I just saw how it was so difficult for her to say no. And a lot of us on this call, especially how timely we're talking about this during the holiday season, it's customary to give. It's in a woman's, nature to give, right? I mean, she's given her body, her energy. Oxytocin runs very strong in her to tend, befriend, establish relationships. So that need that my mom felt to help and give, I saw firsthand how that did not serve her completely. I wish in hindsight I knew then what I know now. I would have been more of a service to her. She ended up, as most people do, okay, how do I get more income to supplement the loss of my husband's Social Security? And so she got remarried. She had a small business, and then that relationship went awry. I'm very thankful that she did have the wisdom of not putting his name on the deed. So she has that. However, my mom lives in Hawaii. As you know, it's a very expensive state. And so I helped my mom, hey, I don't know if you can really float this financially, and especially as you age. And so she was like, yeah, okay. We helped her get some renters. And then now that she's in her mid 60s, I've helped her with Social Security and the timing of that. Thankfully, she can wait till 70, the max age. Helped her with Medicare, right? So that's an important thing. I specifically draw those two things because as people are planning their timeline and what to look forward to, right? You've paid into it. Those are some of the things that do need assistance with establishing the timeline and when and how much is going to be received or taken. And it's a very important fact. So I was very proud to help my mom with those details. That seemed so little, but it's such a big decision. And to take our time through it and make an informed decision meant the world to me. And so, yeah, my mom, she went through marriage, she went through divorce, she went through widow. I have another example, so you'll appreciate this. There's some hidden eggs here, so I don't know if
Hmm.
you're at the end, you're gonna catch on to it. But I want to share a couple examples that relate to marriage, divorce, and loss. So I had, we'll call her, let's talk about divorce. So I had a client, and we'll name her Belle. So Belle, the inconceivable happened. We've been working with this household. I don't think they did honest conversation. They didn't want to do it, or else maybe we could have averted a divorce. But she was going through a divorce, and we helped her with bringing clarity to the picture and where to go from there. And it was amicable. She just felt like, hey, someone had my back. all the tax returns. She needed a document. We were able to provide that. And then at the end, in the separation of assets, it was very seamless. And it wasn't just the assets that we managed, but then, from retirement plans, through the nonprofit that she worked with. And so we gave her just that peace of mind, and she was really appreciative. So for clients like who are in Bill's situation, that's the value add that we add there. I also had another client, we'll call her Elsa, and Elsa, she was very sharp. And I miss her to this day. She's one of those ideal clients. She was at an advanced age, but she had the wisdom to just make everything very optimal and efficient. She had her adult children as her co-trustees, and then what brought her to us is she wanted to be tax efficient with her accounts. And so we were able to do that for her in her lifetime. We explained the step up cost basis for beyond her, but she had her estate so tight that when she did unfortunately succumb to cancer, her beneficiaries, they became clients themselves because they were so relieved with the peace of mind, and we served as that easy button for them. One more story here. So, it goes both ways. With it's not just necessary the women are always going to outlive the men. Sometimes it's the men who outlive the women, and then the woman was the financial leader, right, in
Right.
in this household. So in this case, I guess we can complement that. The man who survived, he engaged us as a client. He kind of knew, but he separated his finances and let his wife do her thing on the side. And then all of a sudden she passed, and then we found that all well intentioned of that whole do it yourselves, and there's a lot of good marketing rhetoric out there, right? And some is appropriate for people and some's not. And so she was her accounts were just not tax efficient. And then we'll call her Anna, right? So he's Christoph, she's Anna, and Christoph is left with like, okay, Anna, why is this IRA not coming to me? Why is it going to the kids? Well, the kids thought all this time that they could, give it to the grandkids, take that inherited IRA and the RMDs and be at a lower tax bracket. Well, not so fast. The government, put a plug to that loophole, and it was, hey, no, there's a kiddie tax, right? And so now that distribution that's mandatory, it's at the parent. So it would have been better in that situation that it did go to the spouse. And those are the kinds of things, right? We could have saved Christoph and Anna some angst and pain. Not all is lost. We of course corrected and whatnot, but then that is a decision, and we try to minimize or eliminate mistakes. But that was a mistake that maybe didn't serve them to optimize their whole financial plan. But those are kind of the examples there that I wanted to share. With between Anna and Christoph, and it was great. They had the beneficiaries were updated. We're here to help grow their accounts, and they know the guardrails of how generous they can be. The adult kids are happy with us. We're the easy button. Um, Dad Christoph just comes to us, and he, makes these requests. He knows about the max annual gift, exemption, and and we figured all the details. We help with the implementation with Elsa, right? So she, her legacy lives on. Her grandkids could go to school. I mean, everyone's education is now because of the careful planning of the finances. She's okay. She didn't outlive her money. And then again with Belle. So Belle, with the separating of her assets, she turned out fine and everything went well. But it's just having that peace of mind and having a sounding board throughout the year and an easy button. That's why folks work with us and value the relationship. All right, next slide. All right. And so we have some final takeaways, and this is the time, my favorite time, the interaction time. So I hope you have some questions. If not, I believe Andreas has some questions for me. And so key takeaways for you. Again, we're humans, we're not robots, we're not machines. And so it's absolutely fine. You have permission to just slow it down, to pause, get oriented, get organized, partner with someone like me or someone at Zoe Financial to just help you get organized, right? That includes a record and accounting of all your accounts, the statements. If you have the logins online, look at your mail, what's coming through, and keep a copy of that just for your safety and also because this is the time we have to consolidate the estate and do a final tax return. And it seems so clinical, but these are the facts of life. It just someone has to do it. So we can start with you or, the support that you have. And if you partner with us, then things don't get missed. We talked about the honest conversation, and that's with or without it. Name your priorities. What is the kind of life you want to live now, right? Being that intentional spending, intentional giving, and making sure that if we do want to give, is it with warm hands or beyond our lifetime? And how does that look like? And are the logistics in place? We talked about online info. AI is getting smart, everyone. So the scammers are real. And so it's just so helpful to work with another human being who is a skilled guide that can help you up the mountain and safely down, who knows your story, who knows your voice, and who can help verify and be that extra layer of protection on all your accounts. It's no fun to be scammed. There's protocols. I've heard scary stories. Thankfully, I didn't go through it, but I had over the holidays some other advisors sharing, like, my goodness, the store didn't trend. I felt like I had to call Adult Protective Services, and thank goodness, right? Because it did save some trouble. So again, research, great, but have a sounding board. Don't take your neighbor's pillows. Don't take all of their financial advice. It might create some counter actions, right? That might not be appropriate for your financial situation, cause more harm than good. And then lastly, bring your questions to the team, and we're here to help. So, with that said, thank you so much, Andreas and the Zoe Financial team, and I hand it back to you.
Thanks, Chahati. And we had a couple questions that already came through. So let me hold them up here. Well, the, there's a couple different people asking the same question. So maybe we'll start with that one, which is, how would I be able to work with Chahati? So that's like the number,
Yay!
the number one that came up. So let's start there. And actually, let me see if I could share my.
Yeah, I have a QR code if we can share our screen again. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much. That humbles me. I'm here to serve. I think it's the Hawaiian in me. If I knew then what I know now, I could have helped my mom. She would have had a bigger retirement account. But again, it's not just about the money, it's the quality of life. But we do need that fuel. We do need that money to help with the expenses. That's the reality in the world we live in. We just want to make sure that we grow your money, that we protect it, we be tax efficient to extend your resources so you can be generous with yourself and with your loved ones. So Andreas has here my QR code, your personal computer, your phone, go ahead, scan it.
You could just schedule, basically, you could schedule directly into her calendar by just taking this QR code.
Yes.
So I'll leave it up while I go through a couple of the other questions. So
Yeah.
another one is, how can I tell if an advisor is the right fit for me, especially during that transition? Any red flags that I should watch out for? So any thoughts there, Chahati, in the sense of like things to watch out for in the sense of the way they answer questions or how they go about kind of providing advice?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, you definitely want to engage with a certified financial planner. Those letters, CFP, should be at the end of their name, and you can do your due diligence and check and make sure your advisor that you want to engage with does have that certification. You want to trust them. You want to make sure you can rely on them. If they're leading with products and insurance,
Right.
that's a big red flag because maybe their business model is more of commission based, and you definitely want a fiduciary who has no conflict of interest and discloses any and is really as a, your financial wellness, again, my motto, I'm a financial doctor caring for your wealth, just like a doctor cares for your health. So if you feel that in the conversation and you don't feel rushed and they're genuinely interested in your story, I think those are some good first steps in selecting the advisor you want to work with.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. A red flag that I would also look for is if they say, "Don't worry, you don't have to pay me," right? That's a red flag, right? No one works for
Good one.
free. Usually is because they're getting paid via the products they're recommending, which might be fine. But again, going back to if they're leading with it's free and you don't have to worry about anything, it's like, well, why aren't you being transparent about the way that you're actually getting paid, right? If it's free, you're the product. Maybe
Right.
that's the way to think about it. Another question here is. Uh, what do you see people trying to do too quickly during these type of transitions?
Remember when I mentioned people will come out of the woodworks and they have all the advice in the world? It's this is an opportunity, right, to either be validated, these people giving the advice to if you're widowed or divorced, of what it kind of almost they're projecting their experience or their feelings on you, and they might mean well, right, and they want to help, but it's just be careful because what their solution, what their thoughts are might not be a good fit for your circumstances, and we only have one financial life and we're trying to minimize the mistakes or if not eliminate. So I think people rush into listening to and following through with what others say, especially if they're looking for financial advisors and they're not savvy on what those red flags are and they just want to alleviate the pain. That's why during this webinar, we wanted to emphasize, we wanted to label like you're going to go through these emotions. We can be proactive. And if that wasn't the case, then here are some practical steps to not make a mistake and deal with the situation at hand and go forward and through it.
Yeah, no, that's great. There's a couple of comments rather than questions saying thank you so much for the insights, and a couple of the questions kind of we just answered, which is great. It seems to be a lot of people had this similar thought here, but
Good.
maybe we'll end with this last one here, which is why did you decide to become a financial advisor? You alluded a little bit to it at the beginning, but maybe it's a good
Yeah.
way to end it here as well.
Yeah, thank you. I was very privileged in Hawaii when I was growing up to go to a Hawaiian private school founded by a Hawaiian princess. And I was corrected by AI today. I thought the estate was worth 13 billion. It's actually 15 billion. So I'm a beneficiary of that and the educational foundation. However, through middle school, through high school, through college, through grad school, never talked about financial literacy, right? And so that's the system that we're in and the reality. And so when you do have this exposure, it's like you can't go back, right? I wish I knew then what I know now. Time compounding, Andrea. It's like, right? You imagine our 20-year-old selves knowing what we know now and how much farther along and how much more generous we could be. And the biggest commodity for all of us is our time, right? And so the resources that we can grow and to protect is it buys us time, right, to do the things that we want to do. I also was you heard about my biological mom and father. I also was the universe was kind to me to bless me with a second family, and I call them my Hanai spiritual family, and they run a Hawaiian entertainment company for the past 50 years, and that was my background. And they didn't really talk about money. I mean, the extent of that was just don't, rack up credit card debt. And, now that I know too much, I'm almost like a human x-ray. I'm like, oh my gosh, do they have their estate planning? What happens, when Papa, we joke but real, but mama's more active, and Mama Shaw, if she outlives Papa, like, oh, the grief and the how she feels. But did she get her estate? Is she giving to the church with qualified charitable donations? So those are the weird things that go through my mind. And again, I go back to, I wish I knew then what I know now, and I see that there's a hole in the education system, and so I'm doing my part. My son's 11 years old right now, and he rolls his eyes like, okay, mom, I get it. Yes, financial planning. Yes, thank you for the gifts underneath the tree. All this Monopoly games, or the game of life, or all those other different games that are out there. I'm that parent who gives them an education that way, and by role modeling, and by just serving my community, and speaking to his school, because I wish I had that. And so that's why I'm so honored, and I'm so thankful of this rewarding career to help families and give them that opportunity, because without the resources or knowing what to do, you're left in the shadows, and you feel like it's a void and there's silence. And so I'm glad for Zoe Financial, Andreas, for providing folks with the technology, the simplicity, and the ease of investment, so that families can build their generational wealth.
Thank you so much, Chahati, for that. And we'll end it on once again thanking you for taking the time on sharing your insights, your wisdom. Thanks to Sophia as well to putting the presentation together, and thanks to all of you that showed up today. One of the questions that was in there is, will this be recorded? I know some of you might have joined a little bit late. This was recorded. You will get an email with a link to be able to view parts if you have missed it. But thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And with that, we will say, have a great holidays, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank
Take
you.
care.